This is a video about the Beirut blast. What do you two think about the Beirut blast? Your actual analysis of the situation before we get into it.
I'll let Anthony go first on this one.
My analysis is this, that the Beirut, because I actually wrote a piece, an opinion piece for the Jerusalem Post actually on this, that while the Beirut explosion is a tragedy, it is really a symptom of a larger disease that has been plaguing within Lebanese society, because Lebanon has been suffering a huge economic crisis for quite some time. It has various paramilitary groups and sectarian groups that seek to have power in the country, and that Hezbollah is a large problem within the country, and that the explosion just brought to the surface essentially all these you could say, it sort of showed how inept the Lebanese government was in reacting to it, and how essentially the country is a de facto failed state and needs to change.
Okay, wonderful. And Ray?
Me and Anthony are in broad agreement on this assessment, which is the blast was an accident that was created by sort of like systemic issues related to just being incompetent, and it's all linked back to the way in which the government has been badly operated for years, perhaps even decades. So, I on this at all. I think I actually read the article he wrote, and I agreed with everything he said.
I agree with this analysis almost completely. I mean, I believe that incompetence, corruption, and the way, I would even say the fundamental way the Lebanese government has been set up in a sectarian manner has contributed to a state of affairs where corruption, sectarianism, and cronyism has festered to the point where basic government functions have become nearly impossible, whether it be trash collection, or just managing the economy to stay coherent, or in this case, dealing with what comes into their ports, because this was something that went into the port, in 2013? They had 7 years to deal with the high explosives that were in this port, and they did nothing to deal with it. And there's been multiple messages that were sent to the government, all of them ignored, about how it needed to be removed. So I think that the state of affairs in Beirut doesn't just need, we need a new prime minister, or we need to do this, we need to do that. I think it needs a complete shakeup, and a change on how governments are managed in Lebanon, if we're going to permanently deal with this problem.
Basically.
Okay, so she had a different analysis of the situation. A different analysis. So, have either of you seen this video before? I know Anthony has. Have you seen this, Ray?
Yeah, we have both watched it before.
Okay, so obviously we're both wrong because she is so based in red pill. So we're gonna see how based in red pill she is and talk about it.
Sure, sounds great.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being patient, waiting for this video. How to connect a lot of dots.
I'm sharing screens, by the way.
Yeah, we're all seeing it.
Okay,
at least I think I'm seeing it at least.
Wonderful. She's about to connect a lot of dots, and this is a great freeze frame.
To do a lot of research, and it just kind of came out that there was too much information to pack into this thing. So in some aspects, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. There are some things I'm going to mention in this video that I've already gone into detail in previous videos, and there might be some things that I'll do in subsequent videos. So this is going to be I'm going to just try to connect all the dots for you as to what I think really went on with that explosion in Beirut. What is the truth? So let's go ahead and get started on this. Now, I am going to assert that the explosion in Beirut was an act of sabotage. And that the act of sabotage was not...
Okay, yep, an act of sabotage.
She's just going to come... She's just going to come right out and just assert a thing that's like completely insane from the start.
Whoa, are you
45 seconds in?
Are you telling me that she's not going to have hard evidence to back up these claims? I'm sure she will.
It's going to be incredible.
But yes, she believes it was an act of sabotage. Now, there was a lot of theories about it being sabotage, a lot of speculation about it being sabotage, a lot of people saying, hey, see, that was a missile, and then you just zoom in, it's like, dude, that's a fucking bird. A lot of that happened. I remember there was some veterans Twitter that like tweeted out like, Beirut blast, nuclear strike from from Israel. Like, there was a lot of stuff early on, but as time gone on, the general consensus has been that this was government mismanagement that has led to them not dealing with the explosives. So then when a fire broke out, it caused a tragedy. That is the general consensus.
Amazing.
Definitely.
Yes, but she's making a bold claim, and Kim Iversen is a respectable intellectual. I'm sure she'll have some evidence to back this up.
Not for the reasons you might think. Now, many think it was Israel trying to secure its interests, and they might have helped. They might have even been the ones to pull it off, because they do have some something to gain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is she really just going to come out right out of the gate and just randomly claim that it might be Netanyahu? How would he have done this?
Personally, I think it was Trudeau and Maduro. Personally.
Oh my God.
Yes, I think it was Maduro.
I mean,
I think it was the royalty of Thailand. I think they wanted to divert from its crisis they're having right now. That's what it really is. Truly.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes, but I'm sure again she's gonna definitely have evidence.
In trying to limit Iran and Hezbollah's influence in the country.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna say that Bibi looked quite tired in that picture.
He did.
So I mean, he needs to go.
He
sleep.
did look a little sleepy.
He is pretty tired of being accused of people's shit.
Maybe he slipped. He hit a button and he was like, no, I did Beirut Command 97. Oopsie daisy.
God damn it.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened.
Anyway, I should
have something to gain in trying to limit Iran and Hezbollah's influence in the country, but their interests were.
Damn, this is gonna take a while. Yeah.
Yeah. No. We should totally meme that one as well. Beirut Command 97.
Beirut Command 97. Oopsie daisy. Oops. I didn't mean to slip there. Oopsie daisy. Oof. And then he slipped and hit it again yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They need to have like a security flip switch on Beirut Command 97.
Oh, and by the way,
keeps going off.
For people who don't understand what I'm talking about, there was another fire at the port. Another one. And I can already see the conspiracy theories coming out like, 2 fires? Is that really a coincidence?
2 fires in the same place?
Yeah, I mean, but imagine them doing it, like, they could do it so many places, like, hey, I see a fire over here in California, there's also a fire over here and over here. This is too many fires to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows to me government incompetency. That's all.
Reminds me of that time.
Most certainly.
Reminds me of that time when I accidentally set my own kitchen sink on fire, and this actually happened twice in a single day. And obviously, that's too many times in a single day for it to be a coincidence. I'm sure that Mossad may have been responsible. Just unbelievable.
It's even better because I thought that inevitably is where she was going with this, but she takes such a left turn out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Were not the primary reason. Instead, the act of sabotage was an attempt to stop Chinese expansion.
Excuse me?
Yep. Chinese expansion every time. Every time it's China.
And look at Xi Jinping's face. I mean, he is thinking right in this moment, how did I get into this story? What am I doing here right now?
Oh no, when I was working with Netanyahu, I dropped my glass and it hit the button and oh no. Yeah.
That button 97. God damn it.
97. He was like, he called up Netanyahu like, hey, Netanyahu, my man, did you do 97? Of course it was you. Like, come on. What is this? And the thing is, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't want a new Cold War. Nobody wants a new Cold War. I think the people who want a new Cold War most are people like this. People like Kim Iversen, who love spitting these theories with literally zero evidence. Oh, well, and I'm sorry. She will most certainly have evidence. Most certainly. Most certainly.
Of course.
In fact, I'm also changing my mind about the mysterious numerous acts of sabotage that have been happening in Iran. I did a video saying that all of the
The funniest thing is...
Serious sabotage.
That could
openly...
Yeah, you could literally say, that's actually something you can point out and say, yeah, that's most likely the Mossad. That's something where you could actually like pin it on Netanyahu, and she chooses not to anyway. She decided like the actual examples of most likely Israeli sabotage that she could point to. Instead of doing that, she's so out there that is when there's actual examples of sabotage, she just pretends it was someone else to spice it up a little.
Very mysterious.
Do you know that it's like, I mean, can you imagine Yossi Cohen, who's the head of like, imagine he's just like sitting there Come on. Why don't I be blamed?
Yeah, I mean, he's almost begging to be blamed at this point.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. I mean, it's very obvious. Like, everyone knows at this point that it's the Mossad. So why is she, like, gonna pretend that this is man. Oh my gosh. If this is a grand plan to stop Chinese economic expansion, I mean, oh my gosh. I gotta say, Donald Trump is working on some 72D chess here. No, 97D chess. Oh my
97D
God.
chess.
97D chess, hey.
Numerous fires and explosions that have been going on throughout Iran's various different military installations, ships, ports, nuclear facilities.
Yep.
I mean, there are plenty of fires and explosions going on. I mean, some of these are like covert nuclear tests that they don't want anyone to know about, but I mean, there are fires and explosions, yeah.
The thing is, some of them are probably just natural accidents, right? Obviously, there's going to be actual examples of that. Some of them are just going to be like, don't look over here, Western world. And some of them are going to be acts of sabotage. I mean, we all know that the Israeli military has zero problem with hitting Iran where it hurts when it comes to sabotage. Yeah. I mean, Netanyahu went to Obama and basically said, I want to strike Iran. Give me a guarantee. And Obama basically said no. So if Netanyahu was willing to do that, is it really surprised that the Mossad is the main culprit when we look at a lot of these examples? No, of course it isn't. I mean, it's even been like Mossad agents like openly like admitting like to reporters anonymously, of course. Yeah, it's most likely them. Yeah, it's most likely us. I worked with Mossad. This kind of looks like something we would do.
I mean, like, even the one in Natanz has actually been confirmed. Like, the one that mentioned a warehouse is because, like, a F-35 F-35 stealth plane, basically, not F-35, I forgot what actual plane it was, essentially hit the area. As well as there's also been a cyber security attack as well, which those have been both confirmed by Reuters. Just
oil and gas pipelines. I thought that it was Israel trying to bait Iran into war in order to destabilize them and gain influence in the region. And again, they might be the one.
I mean, I thought it was an obvious thing, but as it turns out, we still have 16 minutes of ad revenue to pick up.
I thought it could have been an actual conspiracy, which I could prove and look really smart to my audience. But let me just take a left turn so I can look mega Chad brain over here.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's 15:13 in total, right? And she's at 1 minute and 32 seconds. So imagine if she just ended the video there.
The thing that's funny about this is how little time she actually spends talking about Beirut, and how little evidence she presents. And actually, little is an overstatement, to be completely honest.
One's pulling it off or helping, but I no longer think their interests are the primary focus. Instead, I think the primary reason Iran has been under attack has been to stop Chinese expansion. All roads lead to China. At least the Belt and Road Initiative does. China unveiled in 2013 its plans to revive their ancient Silk Road. Their vision is to connect a land and sea route around South Asia into Africa, up the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, into the Middle East, and onward into Europe. From there, the land route would go...
Okay.
Wow. A little bit further back than that, so we can see the map, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
But even Macron is in that picture, just like, what am I doing here right now? But, right. So, if you were like some kind of super secret agent and you were trying to sabotage One Belt, One Road, would you engage in some very weird 972-dimensional chess in Lebanon, which is not even explicitly demarcated on that map? Or would you perhaps choose like literally anywhere in that tangle of stuff down there in the middle of Southeast Asia where a bunch of American boats are parked in the first place?
Or you could just talk about like how the TPP is like a count. Like there's so many other examples.
Or just sign the TPP and get it over with.
Yeah, just say, hey, America doesn't like Belt Road. Proof TPP. Video over. But that's 10 seconds, so you can't make money off of that.
8 minutes of money.
Into the Middle East and onward into Europe. From there, the land route would go through Europe, into Russia, down through Eastern...
I gotta say, this picture of Macron really makes him look like a dictator. Gonna be honest. If someone showed me this picture of Macron, it said, Democrat, elected leader, or dictator, I'd hit dictator every time. I'd actually say that Xi Jinping... I'd actually say Xi Jinping looks like the democratically elected leader in this picture.
Can I just say that Xi Jinping looks perpetually pissed off all the time?
Yeah,
looks perpetually pissed off.
No. That's not. I don't interpret that as like a pissed off expression. I always interpret that as like the "What am I doing here again?" kind of expression,
both.
like almost like an expression of mild boredom that I think he puts on all the time.
Fair enough. Looks pissed off at me.
Yeah. Now that Frogman's kind of like no longer a competitor, I guess he's just bored. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe into the Middle East, through Iran and Central Asia, back into China. There's another smaller trade route that's being developed and was announced between China and Pakistan that goes through Pakistan-controlled Kashmir. So why do I think the recent smaller explosions in Iran and the massive one in Beirut are to stop Chinese expansion?
I love how she connects
any
those
of this
things.
stuff connected?
I love how she connects those things. Like, oh my god. Oh,
They're
Lord.
literally not even connected.
They're not connected in any
I'm sure
way.
she's gonna try. She's gonna try.
She's gonna do her best.
Well, it's not the only area this sort of sabotage is happening, and I'm going to get into that. We're going to connect all the dots. But China has been a rising nation for the past 20 or so years. Everyone has expected China would rise to become a world power. The thing is, they have been rising much faster than anyone anticipated. I think the advent of technology mixed with them being an authoritative nation that doesn't deal with one of the downfalls of democracy, which is needing to gain consensus and going through some red tape in order to make decisions. So because they've been able to avoid that, they've been able to rapidly advance. So then in 2013, when they announced their Belt and Road Initiative, it became clear.
I was waiting for her to keep going. Like, here's some other disadvantage of democracy: having to listen to those fact checkers on the internet. Listen to those people with wrong opinions, just stopping you. All those red tape.
And also, that's totally a weird defense of China that she's done there as well, where it's kind of like she's gonna essentially buy into the accusations against the country and be like, yeah, we're just gonna accept whole cloth that like top down command is happening here, but then I'm gonna like spin that and say it's actually good.
Well, I don't know if she's spinning as good. I think she's saying that like part of the downfall of democracy is you can't act fast because you need to get the consent of the government.
Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe I'm being too hard on that one.
I think that's what she means, but it's really weird that that's like there's no like analysis of like no thrown in there like not that I like this, but it's kind of weird that that wasn't there.
Or like here's the downside of doing that you have to deal with, or potential risks involved in not seeking
the centralization of power means that when a power vacuum forms, the systems of you can go through all this like, but nah, it's a little weird.
They were on the fast track to world dominance. And this was very scary for the U.S. and the West in general. What? And historically...
Pause.
Yeah.
Fast track to world dominance? Like, how did she leap from regional power with one aircraft carrier that has a curved deck, for goodness sake, to...
curved deck thing.
I gotta say, did you see the congressional report on the Chinese military? Did you see that?
Are they also claiming that it's going to come and get them at any moment?
It's weird. They're basically saying that the Chinese Navy is gaining military dominance over the American one.
Real.
Yeah, that's what it said. I'm not kidding. That's a congressional report.
I mean, maybe she's not completely out of left field in the sense that I guess you could derive that from reading American reports.
Yeah, but to be fair, that report came months after, like a month after this video came out, and also, like, I don't think the report is completely on point in some area. I mean, I think the way it's framed. Either way...
Yeah, I mean, I think they're overestimating this completely. The idea that China's going to catapult to world dominance in 4.5 seconds is a pretty tall one.
Oh, gosh. Okay. This is fun. By the way, 3 minutes and 18 seconds into the video, no evidence yet that the Beirut blast was in any way connected to China.
Rather than aggressively compete, the strategy has been to kneecap the competition. Yeah. The U.S. and the West in general really waged a 50-year Cold War against the USSR to stop Soviet expansion. It was the number one focus of U.S. foreign policy from the 40s to the 90s. The U.S. waged numerous proxy wars and allowed thousands upon thousands of U.S. soldiers' lives to be lost and many more foreign lives lost in an effort to stop Soviet expansion. And the thinking was, if the Soviets expanded their influence around the world, they would become the world power and we would be at their mercy. I mean, so we did everything
I mean, this is not quite the same thing. I mean, the Soviet Union in the 1950s and 1960s could have rolled over Europe, and there would have been very little that anyone could have done to actually prevent that from occurring, which is why there was so much running around and so much flurry in an attempt to prevent that from happening. Whereas in the case of the People's Republic of China, the odds that they're going to come pouring into France tomorrow afternoon is literally zero.
So I would also throw out the fact that the Soviet Union did the same thing. They also sponsored proxy conflict. It was a Cold War. Like we were both sponsoring like proxies around the world. Like that's the whole narrative. We're both playing chess, and then like Ronald Reagan came in with a sledgehammer, and then the war. That's the whole narrative, right? Like I don't.
Yeah. It's just that situation at the beginning was more dire than what is the situation now in the year 2020 between the United States and China. Because of the fact that there is a lot of landmass between where China is and where the Soviet Union was at the time it was shortly after Second World War. So I mean, this is a very strange comparison she's made here. I mean, I wouldn't compare the Soviet Union's position in the early Cold War to where China is now in 2020.
Yeah, it's not similar. The fault lines are but. And not to mention the type of kind of new Cold War that would happen between America and China.
Oh yes, the dimensions of it are very. I mean, the way in which it would happen is different too.
Like I'm trying to think of the proxy conflicts that could be sponsored. The most obvious ways you could point to is the South China Sea. Some moral issues when it comes to how both of our nations deal with certain domestic issues. Maybe the demarcated line on India. But that demarcated line has always existed. They had a war over it. They invaded India over that issue before. So that's nothing anything new in that scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean the most obvious proxy would be North and South Korea, but that's not going to go into a hot war unless Kevin Castley gets his way.
And also, in a precedent that's not the same as what happened with the USSR. I mean, we saw from the WikiLeaks leaks that China has a preference for South Korea over North Korea in an event that the Korean Peninsula gets united. Like their preference is for a united Korean Peninsula, led by Seoul. So, you would never find in the Cold War with the Soviet Union something like that, where you'd never have, for example, the USSR preferring a united Germany under the government in Bonn. Well, that would not have happened.
Well, to be totally honest, and even by your own admission discussions with you, Ray, that even when it comes to China and even North Korea, China just views North Korea more as just like a buffer state to US influence in the region. And that, yes, I guess you could say that, as you mentioned with WikiLeaks, that it prefers South Korea and like that, but ultimately it would prefer, I think, if I'm correct in saying that, you would prefer a South Korea with less US influence, basically, along.
Oh yeah, their stipulation in that particular document was that if there's going to be United Korea with Seoul as the capital and South Korean officials being the ones running everything, then US forces would be expected not to walk right up to the Chinese border. That would be the thing they wouldn't want to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
We could to stop their expansion, including wage proxy wars in Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, Iran, Malaysia, Algeria, all throughout Central America, Congo, Cuba, etc. We went all around the world trying to stop the Soviets. Now that China has become an increasing threat, it's looking like we might be using the same tactics. So let's go ahead and start with Lebanon, Beirut, and work our way backwards. Now, last week, an explosion of nearly 3,000 tons.
Wait, 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah, she hasn't provided any evidence. Her literal first point. Her next point is literally just the first point repeated. There was an explosion. Okay.
And then she rambled about China, right? Becoming a dominant superpower about to destroy American hegemony, world dominance, whatever. Hegemony. Yeah, hegemony. And then back to Beirut, and no evidence provided yet, but I'm sure she'll slide into it. I'm sure. I trust her.
Sure, I have great confidence.
I have great confidence in Kim.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're gonna get there.
Of ammonium nitrate leveled the port in Beirut, killing around 200 people, injuring thousands more, and leaving even more homeless. It was discovered that the ammonium nitrate was taken from a ship and had been sitting at the port for nearly 6 years. Now, ammonium nitrate doesn't spontaneously combust. It has to be ignited. So
By the way, isn't that kind of a weird thing that it's been there for 6 years? Was this like planned 6 years in advance? Like the Mossad or America placed it there 6 years in advance? Yeah.
Occam's razor would suggest that this is incompetence.
Yeah, most obviously with that. I mean, the most charitable you could say is that we found. Wait a second. Let's also remember that these documents were sent to the government and they never responded, meaning either they forgot or were buried somewhere. So the idea that we probably knew about their existence is, I don't know, man. And even if we did know about the existence, so what happened? That we sent a Mossad agent down there to blow it up and then destabilize the government with, again, zero evidence that has occurred? Or was it the other thing where we had it there for 6 years, planned it in advance, had the people who had the ship abandon it, hope that the government wouldn't do anything about it for 6 years? Like this, the most obvious example here, and the one that has the most proof for it, because we can see it right in front of our eyes, is that the Lebanese government is corrupt. It is festering with corruption, and it is also incompetent. It can't do trash collection properly. How do we think it would be able to deal with high explosives properly, right?
Exactly.
There was just another fire. Was that also done by the Mossad?
Damn.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
It really is. And then to somehow pull it all into China, which is another, a whole other level. This is insane.
Like, I kind of feel sorry for Joseph Cohen. Like, he's just saying, like, you guys could have, you could have done creatively with blaming me. Come on. Yeah.
This is so out there, because of course these are your normal conspiracy theorists is going to pin everything on Israel at the end of the day. But she's taking it to a whole new level here. Just blaming it on a grand conspiracy to undercut the Chinese government. And I love this, by the way, when she commented on Israel earlier. Maybe the Mossad was involved. I can't say they weren't. Maybe. And then it was like, you're waiting for it. Like, is there any evidence to show that the Mossad could have been involved in the explosion? No, but they could have.
I mean, maybe I could have been involved in the
There is
explosion.
as much proof of this. Okay, I could spin something as similarly out there. Actually, I think it was Emmanuel Macron, guys. Listen to this.
Oh my God.
Emmanuel Macron has kind of used this whole crisis to raise his international profile and to show himself. And of course, the French ties to Lebanon are very deep. Of course, we go back to colonial time. We all understand. So it wouldn't be crazy that they would maybe have interest in Lebanon and be able to use it to show that they are a grand international actor. And this is also one of the spheres, and Macron, of course, has differences with Turkey. One of the few areas that Turkey isn't constantly encroaching upon. So isn't it weird that he's operating one of the few areas where he would know Turkey would not interfere with his operation? I think it's pretty obvious that he's using this to help build up his international accolades.
So
That has
basically,
as much proof as this.
Emmanuel Macron.
yeah. So what you're saying, Dylan, is blame Daddy Macron. That's what you're saying.
Blame Macron, yeah, just blame Macron. Blame anyone. I mean, it wouldn't really matter at the end of the day who we blame. She just wants to blame some. I mean, again, new Cold War narrative, blah, 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 gonna push it.
Yeah.
The question is, what was the spark? So there are speculations that it was a fire that was started by sparks during welding that was happening nearby. They're investigating this. They're trying to figure out what it was. Or that it was a fire that was lit off by fireworks that was being stored nearby. So the fire lit off the fireworks. The fireworks sparked the ammonium nitrate, which caused...
By the way, she's spinning this right now. She just said that the investigation hasn't finished. We don't really have the evidence back. There's just a bunch of speculation. Anyway, let's take the speculation train all the way home. She's about to do it.
The big, huge blast. In an interview with the Associated Press, an Israeli explosive expert who works closely with the Israeli government said it looked like cheap fireworks made in China that sparked the explosion. Over the past several months, numerous reports have been coming out saying the Chinese government was striking a deal to add Lebanon to its Belt and Road Initiative. That China...
By the way, she says that like China line, like it's a big damning piece of evidence. There's no evidence there. That's not evidence. That's just
Exactly,
one person.
that's
It could be
not
some
evidence.
cheap
That's
Chinese fireworks.
The thing that is happening, it just happens to be a thing.
Yeah, let's see. Where do the most fireworks come from? Where do most fireworks come from? Let's see. Let's speculate.
I bet you can guess.
Oh my gosh. China
no.
accounted for 94% of U.S. fireworks. I have a weird feeling that they would... Oh my gosh. Jesus.
People's Republic of China.
Wow. It's almost like him saying cheap
Fireworks.
Chinese fireworks would just be because most fireworks are from China, and it's not some elaborate plot to try to connect China to the situation. And by the way, that wouldn't even connect it, because last time I checked, this would be an operation done by the American. I guess this would be like a thing to like, not on top of disrupting the Belt and Road Initiative, but make them look bad. Like
But also
they're,
somehow blame them for it also.
yeah, but also blame them for it because of their evil fireworks. This is bizarre. 5 minutes, 42 seconds. No evidence. That fireworks statement is the most evidence she's presented, and it literally proves nothing.
They had been trying to land Beirut for years because the Middle Eastern port would be an incredibly strategic location for the trade route. The port would allow China to then create a direct rail link from Beirut to Damascus, through Iraq, and into Iran and onward. So the port in Beirut is incredibly strategically important to the Chinese initiative. They need that port.
When was this being decided, given that it would appear to me that if you're building a gigantic railroad from Beirut to Damascus, this would be passing through a literal war zone, first off, or a pile of rubble.
No.
The entire
Syrian civil war was just to disrupt the Belt and Road Initiative. You don't understand.
Oh
You're
my
not looking
god,
through
we're
Kim,
learning so
you're
many
not
incredible
looking through the
facts.
Kim Iversen glasses. Come on.
They also need the Lebanese government to be friendly. So if the Lebanese people think it was cheap Chinese fireworks that caused the explosion, they're a lot less likely to be welcoming of Chinese imports. Plus, with the calls for a revolution, the prime minister stepping down after the blast, we can assume the deal with China was that they were in the process of making now is probably on hold at best.
There
will be a full court.
This was the part of the video that I actually found to be the most ridiculous of all.
Yeah.
Simple 5 minutes in Google. Well, a little bit more than 5 minutes, but some time in Google and reading the Financial Times, you could actually come to the conclusion that that deal was actually always stalled. It wasn't like it was moving forward and then it suddenly stopped because of the explosion. It was stalled already because the government is incompetent.
Yeah, the thing is, if they can't do trash collection properly,
signing that deal, like it was like that was like pie in the sky at the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like some. I mean, it's almost like many of the things China promised to Eastern Europe that never ended up coming about. But the only difference is this is even more pie in the sky because this is a government in crisis right now who is extremely corrupt, extremely incompetent, has riots on the street and protests on the street because of its incompetence and the economic downfall. And China's going to be like, yeah, let's throw a few $1 billion that way right now in the middle of a crisis where governments change like that.
Exactly. I mean, China even recently had been writing like passive-aggressive articles in some of their own journals, talking about how there are certain countries in the world that are in a state of unrest or a state of economic mismanagement that is such that if you throw money at them, you're throwing good money after bad. And it was widely understood that this series of articles on this were basically a tactful way of sort of giving notice to places like Venezuela and Lebanon and so on that you can't just get free money from China and then continue to be incompetent. Right. So, I mean, I'm sure that Kim Iversen must know this. So I don't even know how she's building that talking point of, oh, it was just on the verge of being signed. No, it wasn't. It was literally 1 billion years away from being signed.
Maybe we're just blind to the truth. Maybe we're just not based enough.
How
much soy have we been consuming recently?
The thing
I
about
tried tofu for the first time recently. Maybe that's it. Never know.
I mean, we just can't comprehend her 978D chess game that she's playing right here. So it's just beyond our comprehension as to how good she is at this game.
Yeah. By the way, can we look at the comments? We're not done with the video. Let's look at the comments.
Oh my god.
I'm surprised this video hasn't been censored. Kim is really smart and savvy and knowledgeable. This is eye-opening.
Oh, Jesus.
Losing my mind.
Wow.
No, sorry. No, Jesus Christmas.
Oh, I love this one. I'm Lebanese, and I can guarantee you that the explosion had absolutely nothing to do with China. Lol. And the response is 25 of people who just got angry at this Lebanese person for daring to say this is complete bullshit. And then their response is, "What's your theory, Sam?" What's your theory, Sam? Well, it's like this idea that you need to have a counterfactual to disprove a conspiracy theory. It's like, Okay, for example, if I saw a helicopter turned upside down in a tree, and I walked up to it and I said, "That's not how you fly a helicopter. That's incorrect." And someone said, "Well, then how do you fly a helicopter?" And then they say, "I don't know, I'm not a pilot, but I sure damn know that's not how you fly a helicopter." That's what this Lebanese person is saying. Like, I don't necessarily know exactly how the fire started, but I sure damn know this wasn't a grand plan to undercut the Belt and Road Initiative. This is no theory. My cousin works at the port of Wilder's cause the same as supposed to. Did you watch the whole video or did you just read the title? As I commented before. Well, the thing is, why would it just be reeling the title? Beirut blast, the real motive. That wouldn't even say anything about China. These people are
exactly.
incompetent.
That wouldn't even help the person to figure out what she's going to say.
Yeah, this is completely incompetent. Oh my gosh. Okay. Jeez.
Press attempt, I'm sure, by Western and Israeli leadership to get Western and Israeli friendly leadership in power in Lebanon. Israel immediately rushed to the country's aid, likely to try to gain influence within the new government. But so is China. So we're going to see how this all plays out. Now, China would have to rebuild that port. Their very strategic, important port. They would have to spend now an unknown amount of money, billions of dollars, to rebuild something that they otherwise would not have had to invest in. So this was a real.
This is the next level of ridiculous conspiracy theorizing. So she's actually contradicted herself here, and she doesn't realize it yet. So China never paid for the construction of the original port, right? So the entire port has been leveled. Kim Iversen's conspiracy theory is that now China is going to feel so pained and hurt by this because China gets to have a contract to rebuild the port for which they will be paid money. Hold on a second, what? Like, I mean, from the perspective of China, I'm sure they probably wish that everything could be leveled to the ground so that they can be paid to rebuild it.
Let me hear this again.
To rebuild that port. Their very strategic, important port. They would have to spend now an unknown amount of money, billions of dollars, to rebuild something that they otherwise would not have had to invest in. So this was...
Talking about China here, or is she talking about the Lebanese?
China doesn't have to spend money to rebuild that.
Wait. Is she talking about China here or Lebanon?
She's talking about China. She's saying that China will be upset because they have to spend money to rebuild a port. They don't have to spend money to rebuild a port. They'd be paid to rebuild the port.
A contract, yeah. But then again, let's all throw this out there again. All of this makes no sense, again, because the government is in crisis, and this whole Belt and Road thing would have been stalled anyway. The explosion... This makes
exactly sense. So it's like multiple levels of this not making sense. But let's pretend for a moment that any of what happened in the preceding 6 minutes and 57 seconds did make sense. Then this new point she's introduced would not make sense in regards to the past 6 minutes and 57. Because why would China be upset to get paid billions of dollars to build a port?
Yeah.
Just have yet to open our eyes.
Was a real way to really stick it to China.
Oh my God.
If I had to bet, I would say that Israel's Mossad, alongside the CIA, lit off those Chinese fireworks that caused the explosion.
This is literally
By the way, she's saying someone said it might have been Chinese fireworks, and so now she's saying... So here it is. My bet, Mossad, CIA, they planted cheap Chinese fireworks. There it is. The investigation isn't even over, and she's already speculating. And what's the title of the video? The Beirut blast, the real motive. There's no evidence of this. There's zero evidence of this. And she's like, this is all like a conspiracy theory in fantasy land, right? This would make great for like a TV drama, but when you're advertising this like it's the real motive, you have to have some evidence. Definitely when this is a tragedy where people died.
Yep. The title of that video might as well be like, please believe me. Oh my God, please.
please believe me. I need ad bucks, please. Oh my gosh.
And Israel definitely has something to gain, but it was mostly to stop Chinese from gaining that incredibly important foothold in the Middle East. So this takes us to Iran. Now, Iran has seen a series of mysterious explosions and fires targeting their military installations, nuclear power sites, gas pipelines, medical facilities, ships and ports, and industrial manufacturing facilities throughout their country. Now, at first, it looked like Israel was attempting to bait Iran into war, but, Iran never falls for these antics, and the tactics were somewhat odd. There have been many of them since June, dozens, in fact, and the targets have been all over the board in regards to types of facilities. It's odd until you examine the deal that Iran and China just struck and announced in mid-July.
It's nothing to do with China. It's just that...
Nothing to do with China. It's like
It's just that Israel doesn't like Iran.
Countries can have different geopolitical. Okay, Israel. I don't know if you know this, Kim, but doesn't have a pretty friendly relationship with. Okay, let me ask you this: when Israel was talking about direct strikes on Iran and was asking the Obama administration for a military guarantee if they were to do that, was that just to undermine China? Was that just to undermine China? Is anytime
Kim might even say yes. I mean, who knows at this point? I mean, Kim is going to come out and say yes to anything.
Israel is maneuvering against its biggest geopolitical foe. The nation has pledged to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. I mean, I could go through all of it. Netanyahu genuinely believes that Iran is the biggest threat to Israel, and operates in accordance with that. And in accordance with that, not to mention, by the way, are we forgetting the fact that China has like economic partnerships with Israel as well? Are we forgetting that fact? Is that not playing into it at all? So he's
Let's mention that too. I mean, she's literally forgotten that. She's absolutely forgotten.
I don't think she knows that.
Jesus.
China has agreed to invest $400 billion in phase 1 in Iran to help build up its infrastructure, specifically in its energy sectors of power, oil and gas, and investments in transportation and manufacturing sectors. The deal also has a military cooperation component. So basically it encompasses all the types of facilities that have mysteriously exploded or gone up in flames in Iran. And knowing these facilities that have mysteriously exploded or caught on fire in both Iran and Lebanon are the very facilities Beijing is interested in for their Belt and Road Initiative leads me to believe it's much more than just a coincidence, but an act of intentional sabotage in an effort to halt Chinese expansion.
Yeah, number one, she hasn't really...
What interest is China having Natanz?
Oh my gosh. All these, all their interests in the Iranian nuclear program, I mean, because, Israel has no interest in the Iranian nuclear program or undercutting the Iranian economy. They have no independent interest under that. It's not like they've been wanting to get rid of the Iranian regime for years. It's not like they have a whole asymmetrical like plan of how to undercut Iranian influence in the region and eventually to bring down the Iranian regime. It's not like they've had that for years.
Exactly. It's like what Kim is doing here doesn't even rise to the level of analysis. It's more like, I've got a theory and now I'm cramming everything into that cookie cutter and it's just going to be that shape.
It's the classic of you have your conclusion, now walk backwards. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's as simple as this. Anytime I put China in my Twitch title, like China debate, people will file it. Is China a friend or foe? People will file it. People like to hear about this new China Gulf War. I bet you if I go check this video, it'll have so many more views than the rest of her videos just for having China or just being about China in some way, right? Let me go check. Let me check. Okay, so recent videos are like 30K, 25, 17, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go down. Go down. Oh, her debate with Destiny. That's a big creator. That's only 25. 31, 68. Oh, that's Hillary Clinton. 111K for this video.
What the hell?
Okay.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Almost like she's baiting her audience.
The Middle East isn't the only target to halt China's initiative. When we look at the map of the Belt and Road Initiative, you can see that it's not much of a belt nor a road unless China can get out of China. It needs to travel through Southeast Asia on the water route, and it needs to travel through Central Asia for the land route. So China announced their plans in 2013, and yet, interestingly enough, when you look through Southeast Asia, there's been an alarming rise of Islamist activity and terrorist attacks throughout Southeast Asia since 2015.
You see what she
now, this is one of our age.
Yeah. Watch this. Wait. Watch what she's about to do. Watch what she's about to do too.
So,
but say what you're
gonna
say.
This is an interesting bullet point she is creating here, which is that okay, that is a thing potentially, but it doesn't have anything to do with Lebanon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the biggest connection you can make here is to the Syrian civil war, since there are extremists that have come from the Xinjiang region
From that and back to the other.
Yeah, you can go. Yeah. That's the biggest connection you can make, and then I guess maybe you can make the connection to Israel's doing strikes within but it makes no sense because Israel's interest is striking Iranian Baghdad. Again, makes no interest. It makes no sense. Not even connected there. I'm just trying to be as
Occam's razor.
Yeah, this
exactly. Occam's razor should not lead you to like Mindanao province in the Philippines, for example.
Look. You just don't understand. Here's how the cartels get involved in Beirut. Okay, it's so far off. Oh my gosh.
Age-old tricks against the Soviets. We armed, promote, and stuck Islamist extremists right at their border in order to keep them busy fighting terrorists. China's Belt and Road goes right into Southeast Asia, into Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Burma, right where there's been a serious uptick in Islamist movements. Along the land route, China needs to get out of its own nation by crossing through the Xinjiang region, where many of you heard about the Uyghur issue. What's less commonly known is China claims their beef with the Uyghurs isn't their Muslim religion. They have other areas in China that are Muslim majority where they're not having any problems. China's beef is specifically a separatist movement that has gained ground within the Uyghurs to create what's called East Turkestan. Now, interestingly,
pause.
I love how this slided from Beirut blast to justification of concentration camps. Hey,
it's so bizarre that she's actually arrived at the ETIM at this point because again, what is the connection to Beirut? There isn't one. So like, if she wanted to have a video on like ETIM, Al Qaeda, whatever, do that video, but like don't like try to somehow
connected. This is just to get to the 10-minute mark.
Beirut.
By the way, we're at 10 minutes, zero evidence for anything she said. We're at the 10-minute mark, zero evidence for anything she said, and just slide into this denialism about this justification where she's like, here's the Chinese perspective, and then she doesn't follow up with the counter to it. She's just gonna give their perspective.
There's no balance there.
There's no balance whatsoever.
There's
right?
no balance to the force there.
And trust me, I am the person who's gonna get most angry with people giving this type of dialogue. But it is important to at least talk about what the government says, so you can say, okay, here's what the government says, and here's actually why I think that's bullshit, right? And at least I can like appreciate a need to at least listen to them, so we can understand like how to respond to do that. But she's just straight up throwing it out there, and she's not gonna give the counter perspective. She's not going to, and one of the justifications of how she's then going to try to tie this back to America because there's certain like representative for an organization that has to deal with all this that is in America, and that's somehow like tying this circle together. It's such a cluster of just different nonsense thrown together to try to hit that 15-minute mark for that good advertiser money, that good 15-minute mark so people want to click on the video.
Because I'm still baffled about how she's going to actually get back to Beirut from all of this. Because she's got all these points that are just floating in the air, kind of like that weird thing where you've got that like whiteboard and you're just connecting everything together while slowly becoming more insane. But how does this come back to Beirut? That's the thing.
It's just she's now sliding into the narrative about a new Cold War. That's what this is. And even though it's gross that she's not going to talk about here the gross human rights abuses that are being committed against Uyghurs, or at least even talk about that perspective or anything. She's just going to slide by this and try to use it as another example of the new Cold War, and then what she's trying to do is make Beirut another front. That's what she's trying to point it as if, like, when you look at the actual Cold War, there's Afghanistan, there's Vietnam, there's Korea, there's the Iron Curtain. These are all fronts of the Cold War. And what she's doing is, besides the demarcated border between India and China and the South China Sea, North and South Korea, she's trying to add new fronts. And one of those new fronts she's trying to throw in there, crazily enough, is Beirut and Lebanon.
The thing about this is so incredible as well. If you look at this, even just again to bring back Occam's razor, if she was looking for fronts in some kind of like existential conflict between countries, why wouldn't she just see Lebanon as a front in the general conflagration between Western powers and Iran?
Yeah, it would be so easy for them here to just talk about Hezbollah for 15 minutes. But
exactly.
again, this is what it is. This is what it is. That doesn't get the clicks. How many people really want to watch through a 15-minute about Hezbollah and Hezbollah's effect on government and America just recently did this whole thing on like, we're going to sanction these two officials because of their ties to Hezbollah. They're doing this right now, and this is like a big move that's going on. These are things that you can actually talk about, have a dialogue about, but that doesn't get you views. That doesn't get you money. Actual foreign policy analysis doesn't get you money. What we have is people like Kim Iversen spinning conspiracy theories because it's easy to click, easy to see. It's the same thing with the 9/11 truthers. It's the same thing with this Beirut crazy conspiracy. It's the same thing with Soleimani was on a peace mission. It's always this stuff.
Yeah. She's got 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left. 5 minutes left.
Let's see how she
Government in exile of East Turkestan is headquartered in none other than Washington, D.C. The separatist movement is fairly new. It first started in the early 2000s. Like many Islamists,
not relevant whatsoever.
It's not correct.
No.
It
uprisings, and it's been able
in the mid-1990s, not early 2000s.
And also, she's trying to make this really strange connection to try to compare this situation to the Mujahideen situation. Like, she's going to do that now.
We're sending guns over to the Uyghurs to go fight the Chinese government.
I know, that's not even happening.
I mean, she's really getting ahead of herself there if she thinks that Pompeo is doing that.
Pompeo, I mean, we both know, we probably
I
all
wouldn't put it
understand.
past him. Granted, I wouldn't put it past him, but he hasn't done it.
He hasn't done it, and also I don't think he's competent enough to do it. Mike Pompeo is not a great Secretary of State. Rex Tillerson didn't do it while he was in office. He was also not a great Secretary of State. I saw him speak, by the way, when I was president of the Model UN. He actually came as a guest speaker. It was a very bizarre moment. I remember sitting there looking at Rex Tillerson. It was like, wow, that's the Secretary of State. That's Rex Tillerson. That's Rex Tillerson. That's Rex Tillerson. Just kind of the slow realization, like, that's the Secretary of State, but it's also Rex Tillerson, you know?
Yeah.
able to gain ground year after year. Now, it is a very conservative, fundamentalist movement that seeks to create a nation similar to the Taliban in Afghanistan. I did an entire segment explaining in detail the Uyghur issue, so I'm not going to go into it fully here. So I'd encourage you to watch that video. But I will say that the only nations against China's methods of attempting to squash this fundamentalist movement are Western nations. So we're the ones that have been calling them out, saying this is concentration camps, this is genocide, these are human rights abuses. Interestingly, most of the Muslim majority nations, including Saudi Arabia, who is largely responsible for the rise of this ideology to begin with, as well as Egypt, Yemen, the Emirates, Morocco, Algeria, and about 40 other countries, have actually made statements supporting China in what they're calling their anti-terrorism strategy.
Okay, number one, I'm going to throw this out there. I don't think Saudi Arabia really, I'm going to think, cares that much about human rights abuses around the world, okay? Nope. I don't think they really give a damn.
I mean,
I think there's a good amount of countries she just named that don't care.
And consent to anything, probably.
Yeah, at the end of the day. I mean, these countries do not care, right? Or I'm pretty sure there's people within their countries, like the civilian populations, who are sympathetic. But the government? No, of course not.
I mean, at the end of the day, how can I say, foreign is that the country making the foreign policy focuses on the national security of their country, and they use the narratives, they create narratives to justify certain geostrategic moves. So in this case, when the Pompeo stuff, Pompeo, I don't think actually genuinely cares about the Uyghur people. He's using it more as a you could say as a shovel against
Trump,
China.
by the way. We already know from the John Bolton book that Trump basically approved of it early on because he didn't understand what he was saying, and he's a dumbass. He doesn't care if they're putting concentration camps. And he also said that during trade talks, that, hey, I don't want to bring up the Uyghur issue, could hurt the trade talks. Basically putting a price tag on those people in camps.
Yep.
And it's only late in his term, after the Hong Kong thing has come through full fruition, South China Sea is becoming more contentious, the complete rejection of Chinese claims in the South China Sea, only late in his term, election season coming around, late in his term, does he seem to change his tune. They don't care. It's just, to them, it's another front. Even though I will support any action to support the Uyghur people who are currently being interned.
Yeah, and it's increasingly looking like the West is attempting to justify...
What you were about to say? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna... I think I kind of like... You've already kind of like made the point on this. I'm just saying that, you know, you're making this big thing, but, you know, it's possible, for example, for these countries basically to want to get the good... you know, kind of like counter-terrorism technology that China's testing in Xinjiang, by the way.
Yeah.
And implementing in their own countries. Because they say, hey, you know, that's pretty good, so we'll just pretend this doesn't happen. but we're gonna, put our hands together and say, "Ooh, that nice technology, that nice security apparatus, it's gonna be great when we use it in our places."
Let's also remember, Son of God brings up a great point in chat, that Saudi Arabia has an extremely contentious relationship with many Muslims around the world due to their actions within their own country when it comes to destroying ancient symbols of Islam, right? Not only that, but I remember there's a huge debate about the clock tower near Mecca, and the idea that they would possibly be okay with some members of the Muslim community being abused overseas, looking the other way for their own personal gain. Well, they're the same country that's currently going on conducting a brutal war in Yemen, committing human rights abuse after human rights abuse. And of course they'd be comfortable with doing that for personal gain.
Yeah. Exactly.
Supporting another extremist group in order to create chaos and war for China in order to limit their influence. It is the exact same strategy we used against the Soviets when we armed and trained the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
Again, no evidence in saying, see, we're using the same tactics. She's given no evidence we're doing this, and again,
she needs to
no
properly
ties
make
to
that
Beirut.
connection if she's going to claim this.
Yeah, if you're going to claim that we're funding... This is a very bold claim, okay? You're going to need to show me some Timber Sycamore type operation that we're conducting in, we're conducting it, and trust me, people love to talk about Timber Sycamore, but you got to show me some example of that happening. There's no evidence. There's zero evidence of this happening. There's zero evidence of what you claimed in Lebanon. There's zero evidence of anything you've basically claimed here.
But she has 4 minutes left.
Maybe at the end she's going to be like, here's 100 documents proving everything I've done. CIA links.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. But
Nope.
We'll see.
We'll see.
People want freedom and autonomy, and in reality, we were helping usher in the Taliban and creating a world where moderate Muslims were forced to live under ultra-conservative rule. So if we can get a civil war brewing in the western region of China, there's no way they can effectively build their...
There's no evidence of this. She's just...
Now,
this is all just speculation.
To be charitable to her, I would say that is a conversation which would be nice to have, just not in the context of a wild conspiracy theory. She's making it more difficult to have the conversation by doing this.
I mean, I didn't even think about decoding her statement about the Taliban, because it's not like we, helped bring about the Taliban. What do you mean? Did we give the Taliban... Did we, let's make the Taliban? That didn't happen. We're just talking about the Mujahideen, and the Mujahideen had splits, and one of the splits turned into Taliban, and there was Northern Alliance, and they had a few... there's so much that has to go on there that she's completely leaving out. Completely robbing all the nuance of the situation. Just throws the point out there. But that nuance that I would like to go into... to actually analyze what happened in Afghanistan. I didn't even...
what you would do to prevent such a thing from occurring again.
Exactly. All that nuance I wanted to go into, I didn't even think about going into, because she's too busy saying things that are so far out there. I'm just too busy dealing with that stuff.
Exactly.
Belt and Road. It would put a dead stop to their ambitions for a while. And what's interesting is what's happening between Pakistan, India, and China. Isn't it odd that our ally in India...
Somebody brought up a good point in chat. Maybe a falafel was found in Beirut. Did you ever think about that? A falafel was found in Beirut. But then that falafel, a falafel was also found in Xinjiang.
Oh my god.
Did you think about
The
that?
falafel conspiracy?
The falafel conspiracy. Yeah, the only explanation is that Lebanon has dug a tunnel all the way to China, and they're smuggling it. And that's probably where the nitrate came from, too.
Falafel conspiracy.
The falafel conspiracy.
That
has as much... what I just said has as much legitimacy as what she's pushing forward here. And it's the same amount of evidence.
Abruptly ended Kashmir's autonomy right when China was making a deal with Pakistan to build a route right through Pakistan-controlled Kashmir. Now there's
again, this only
another
works.
thing she's trying to fold into this one narrative. What about this? What if Narendra Modi just doesn't believe that the Kashmir thing should have autonomy because they think it's a British conspiracy from way back, and so they just nullified that as part of Modi's populist stance, and it has nothing to do with China whatsoever.
It's not like Modi's a nationalist, and there's been a conflict within India about what the future of Kashmir should be, and their relationship with Pakistan has been going on for decades before Chinese economic rise. There's no way that's the case. This is all
the conversation about Kashmir.
Everything is about China. Everything is China.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the conversation about Kashmir has been going on since literally 1947. But Kim Iversen is just like, you know what? What if this is actually
The
about the Belt
Chinese
and Road
Civil
somehow?
War wasn't even over by then. This was before the Chinese Civil War was always. This is like the This is the always. Somebody just brought this up in chat. This is the always was meme. Like every conspiracy in the world, like every single geopolitical conflict in the world, like on a in a frame, and then it just has a big Chinese flag over it, and it's like always Belt and Road. 1947, that was Belt and Road. It was just before the Mao Zedong hadn't even conquered China, the mainland yet, and he was already thinking, okay, how do we use this Kashmir thing?
Or you could like wind it back. You could wind it back to the 1920s or something, and we're talking about young Mao here or something. You know, there was this movie that they played recently for the 1990th anniversary where they replayed it again, and it's the one where like Mao is like young Mao or something. And he's asked to like choose between the different ideologies he thinks is like most salient or whatever, and he has like this internal debate as to whether he's going to become an ANCOM or whether he's going to become a Marxist-Leninist. Apparently, this
Belt
actually
and Roadist.
Even then, always was about the Belt and Road somehow.
His first words were Belt and Road Initiative.
His first words after emerging from the womb.
Yeah.
Unrest, and the region may even break out in war. Isn't it also odd that Hong Kong, another port and major strategic partner, is going through massive unrest? And
no, it is. Okay, oh my god. So I don't understand why she thinks Hong Kong has anything to do with this either. But I mean, there were events that happened, and like there were events that were entirely separate. Like there was the whole extradition treaty thing, which was caused because of some weird argument over whether people should be extradited for having committed serious crimes, such as murder or like pedophilia or something like this, which then like snowballed into the Chinese government deciding it was going to try to impose a law. And then, of course, the Hong Kong resistance came out and protested against it. So Carrie Lam retracted the law and said the bill is dead, and the protest continued. So Xi himself intervened on the issue and had a conversation with everyone concerned, and then they reimposed the police activity in Hong Kong, and then you saw how the rest of that
security
played
law,
out.
national
None of that
anthem
had
law.
anything to do with the BRI.
Look. Not to mention the fact that this has been happening ever since the handover. I mean, what about the yellow vest? Not the yellow vest. The umbrella protest. Look. I'm waiting for her next statement to be, isn't it also funny how the Venture Bros were also just canceled? And just like something completely that's as related to this as the Hong Kong thing. This has no ties whatsoever. These are completely separate incidents. She could be talking about, she could bring up the Yellow Turban movement in Chinese history and somehow try to like connect this to this, right? She could talk about the release of the new Three Dynasties game. What are these? I forget. All it matters here is that she connects every single conflict China's in, or that Israel's in, or America's in, is somehow a grand ploy
back to the BRI
to undercut the Belt and Road Initiative. This is the type of conversation I have all the time on Twitch. People will always try to bring it up, and I don't specialize in Chinese affairs. I like to learn more about the Middle East. I find that more interesting to me. I am slowly learning about China because I find that interesting too. I am extremely supportive of Taiwan and the South China Sea operations, right? But
I can say for sure is that whatever Kim Iversen is doing here right now, this ain't it.
But I'm also angered at how this is how every conversation about foreign policy on Twitch has been going recently, that it always comes back to China. And I made a tweet about it because I went on a panel show that was supposed to be on foreign policy, and it was going to go all around the spectrum, and for 3 hours I just had to yell about why decoupling from China is a bad idea, and it was so aggravating. It was oh my gosh.
And also, sometimes a spoon is just a spoon, and this is something that sometimes people, when they're doing these analyses, they need to realize that sometimes things happen because of not a grand plan.
Gosh.
And here we have a president who's hell-bent on calling the virus the China flu, who has been all about China, China, China. He might not be inclined to march us into full-on conflicts like some of his predecessors.
Could you imagine, Donald Trump calling the COVID the Kung flu isn't somehow related to the Beirut blast?
Yeah, I mean, for a second, I almost forgot what video we were in. And then, how is she going to connect that back to Beirut? I mean, obviously, anti-Asian sentiment in general is like a super serious issue that needs to be covered as a thing. Just how is it connected to Beirut?
My gosh. Oh. Okay. This is an interesting video.
But he sure seems to be a fan of covert efforts of sabotage and overt efforts to pressure. And it's looking to me like, when we connect all these dots, that we're already well underway on our second Cold War.
Oh,
I'm sure it didn't start with Trump. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I particularly liked how Donald Trump's face was just slowly zooming toward the screen as she said that, as though he was some kind of mastermind instead of a bumbling idiot. I mean, that was a pretty neat effect.
Well, I mean, but then again, she does believe that Trump is better than Biden on foreign policy.
In fact, yeah, how did she actually put this? Because I actually forgot that for a moment as well. If she thinks that Trump is like the evil one, but simultaneously preferable, how does she actually square that in her mind?
She believes due to his, I think it was, she said that he might be better on Venezuela. Because
okay,
Trump,
but why should
the reason why is because Trump said he might talk to Maduro, which not gonna happen. And
okay, I mean, even in the framework of what she's building here, where all roads somehow magically lead back to China, which is what she literally said near the beginning of this video, like, why would she care about Venezuela, given that China has already disinvested most of its future lending tranches from Venezuela? I mean, China doesn't have anything to gain or lose from that scenario, so why should she care? She hasn't actually joined this all together. It's almost like she's letting her audience lead her in this direction, because maybe her audience cares about Venezuela.
What it is she's like, just like she's doing the whole planting seeds thing. She's planting the seeds and letting the audience do the rest of the work, right? That's why it's all, if you look in the comments, it's like, you opened my eyes. But she like didn't present any evidence and show any hard facts, didn't do anything like that. She's just trying to try to connect the dots here to make this, right? To make this work. But I mean, that is going to be a confusing maze of dots that she has connected here with zero evidence to back up a single point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we're at 12 minutes and 41 out of 15:13 now, so she has 3 minutes left to somehow connect these dots. And I can tell you now,
there's going to be no connection. There's going to be no connection.
And get us out of the insane asylum, because if she keeps going this way, we're going to end up in the insane asylum literally wearing straitjackets.
There's going to be no evidence. There's going to be no dot connecting. It's just she's going to lay it all out and be like, did I get ya? Like, that's what it is here.
It's been building administration after administration, and it will only intensify as the years go on, just like the Cold War with the USSR did. Ideally, we don't end up in the same terrifying situation of worrying about whether or not we're going to be nuked by China at any given moment. But quite frankly, if we keep up these antics, we will be. The thing for us American citizens to do is keep our eyes open to this new Cold War and pressure our government to find different ways to compete on the world stage. We need to invest in the education and health of the American people so that we are smarter and stronger than our competition. And we need to form friendly partnerships around the world rather than bullying or ignoring. We need to be very aware of increasing Chinese influence in our nation. I did a whole video on that as well that I would encourage you to watch.
I would encourage everyone watching this not to watch that. There's only so much radiation that human beings can take. There's a reason why people evacuated Chernobyl, right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you all to do this in small doses. Treat it like therapy. Once you start to lose hair, then you need to back off for a little bit.
Exactly. Really, literally back the hell up at that point.
Yeah.
That goes through exactly the threat that China poses, what the U.S. can do. We do need to adopt an America First attitude, and we do need to become a bit more protectionist.
Oh my gosh.
There
it is. By the way, she admits that Trump
manages to say America First.
She admits that Trump is bad when it comes to America First and bad in all of these things, but she says that the reason why he's better on foreign policy is because at least he's starting a conversation about America First.
Oh my god! This is almost identical to the kind of logic that literally Richard Spencer was attempting to use to justify support for Donald Trump. Well, he's an incompetent buffoon who's never going to get anything done, but he's starting a conversation.
Starting a conversation. Indeed. Yeah. Aren't we all?
Definitely watch that video as well. And we need to be aware of China's influence on our nation. We need to start making some
wrapping this up like it's a China. This was a Beirut video.
Regulations to protect.
We keep forgetting what the title of this thing is, right? Again, we almost forgot what the title
The
was.
real motive, as if she had revealed the truth as a hardcore investigator. I'm sure that she is well versed in foreign affairs. I bet she's an IR student at heart.
Ourselves.
Of course.
Also, the tactic of demonizing anyone we don't agree with should also be re-examined. We see it now in our everyday lives amongst cancel culture.
Is this our own cancel culture?
Oh my
How
God,
is she
she's so
tying
much
this in the
somehow worked
cancel
culture into
culture?
this.
How
This is
she
one of
went
the
from
dots.
Beirut blast to cancel culture in one
How did
video.
we get here? How did we get here?
How? Oh my gosh. Cancel culture was started by Trump to cancel the Chinese regime for putting people in concentration camps. Like, I don't know how this gets it.
Unless she-
Stop
and then
trying
she
to
still
cancel.
doesn't want to support America
Here it is.
anyway.
Here it is. Stop trying to cancel Hezbollah. That's the twist. There it is. That's how she's going to bring it back around.
Culture, but it first started with America refusing to do deals or make partnerships with nations we don't morally agree with. And
We trade. We're giving Saudi Arabia weapons to go blow away Yemenis. What do you mean?
In fact, Trump himself deliberately. I mean, this came out today anyway because of the.
Really say
Woodward
saves
tapes,
his
but I'm
ass.
just
Yeah,
gonna
the Woodward
example here
tapes.
now. I mean, Trump literally covered for Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud and his actual murder of Khashoggi. And then after he had done that, he literally just sold him $8 billion worth of weapons so that he can continue violating human rights in Yemen. So, I mean, that would qualify as definitely engaging in trade and friendship with individuals with which you, quote, disagree.
Lucifer, you say you've been doing a lot of research on the Lebanon situation? Run. This stream is not for you. This person will only clog up your
Run.
mind. Run away
Exactly.
before you're polluted.
Absolutely run away. I mean, this is terrifying. I mean, we have actually been through 14 minutes of actual terror.
This is terrorism.
nations around
This is I want to do a stream on how Black Lives Matter is not a terrorist org soon. Maybe I'm gonna have to describe how this should, like, Interpol needs to get involved in Kim Iverson's YouTube.
Arabia, for example. So we need to be friendlier with other nations around the world the same way China's.
It's the wrong one. I had two tabs of this open. 1 second.
Like cancel culture, it's often hypocritical as we alienate some nations yet continue to buddy up with others, such as Saudi Arabia, for example. So we need to be friendlier with other nations around the world the same way China's been. We need to understand that they don't need to be westernized or democratized in order for us to do deals with them. That's what China's doing all throughout Africa, all throughout Southeast Asia, all throughout Central Europe, Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and it's working.
What she's saying is look the other way
so-
at people's human rights abuses. Okay.
I mean, this is one of those things where I'm going to be charitable and say that she's advocating against cultural imperialism there. So, I mean, if that is the most charitable interpretation of what she said, I mean, Broken Clock, I guess, was right once in an entire video. But even then, how does that connect back to Beirut?
Oh my gosh. But again, I don't even think that's what she's saying. I think this really feels, I guess you could say culture, but this kind of feels like just look the other way if they're doing things you don't agree with. Just look the other way. Right? Look, I guess we're giving Saudi Arabia all those bombs, but that's their business, not ours. I mean, we're making, a pretty penny, but that's the only business I need to care about. God. Oh, is this the Kim Iversen hawk take? Just look away when Saudi Arabia is doing something a little, you know? It's their business, not ours. Oh my gosh.
God.
I see she has studied under the great John Bolton.
They're also going into Latin America, and that is a whole nother video that's not totally in conjunction with their Belt and Road, but they are certainly making inroads throughout Latin America and South America. And that is another one that shows we are trying to limit Chinese expansion. They've been doing deals with Venezuela. It's all very interesting. I'm going to connect more of these dots as time goes on. Thank
Monroe Doctrine. Wait, no, that Mao was planning during the Monroe Doctrine. Okay.
You know that
Already
meme.
terrified. Already
You know
terrified
that-
of this future video.
You know that meme basically where the guys like looking at China, like it shows just China of instead of the Earth, and the guy
Yeah, that's
points
what
down,
I was
like,
talking about.
"Oh,
Yeah.
China."
What was it called? Was it always?
Yeah,
What
always was.
Was it always China? Let's see.
China.
It's gonna be
Has to
there,
one
right?
for it. Has to be.
Nah. Wait. No,
it's not.
No.
Oh, it
Was it
needs to
always
be.
me? So if someone can make one, someone can make Kim Iversen right here. Wait, it's always
Oh,
it's always Ohio. Make it. It's always been China. Always has been. It's just Kim Iversen right there. Oh my god.
And just like Chan, a picture of like G somewhere, like G, like kind of in the way that he's.
Yeah, it's just a big. It's just a big picture. She's head as the Earth. Yeah. Whew. Well, I think that's about everything. Let's see.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope.
Yeah, that's the video. So what's your analysis on it? I'm sorry I gave it a dislike.
Well,
I think I disagree with a few things in the video. I'm sorry.
Yeah, give it a dislike, and basically, yeah, I think that was roughly 15 minutes and 13 seconds of abject terror. I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like it.
It certainly was an interesting video, to say the least.
Like my analysis, or like my take from it, is that kids, you know, kind of don't get your information from random people who do conspiracy theories and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of great articles, like, you know, there's a lot of great articles on the internet basically that you can find right now from good, you know, think tanks that are well researched. Like, you know, you could go to the CSIS, you could go for the, you know, Center for Foreign Relations. There's so much good stuff that you can find for free if you just Google if you want to. I mean, I know Google's not the best all the time, but you just have to go to those places where there's people who study this for their living, who look through the evidence. That's much better place than this kind of like, okay, let me throw crap on the wall and see what sticks. That's basically what this video was.
You know.
And also you can also obviously watch this live stream and the three people on it who can give you the first and or secondhand takes on all of these things, because we're super competent.
And if you want to get more of that analysis, you know, in chat, we spent a decent amount of time decoding this. If you want to gift a few subs and traps, jump a few subarinos, drop a few direct donations, I really appreciate it. Once I hit 500 subarinos, I'm gonna finally finalize the debate with Kevin. Gotta make something out of it, eh? If I'm gonna, I need to pay for the radiation therapy I'm gonna need afterwards. That's all. By the way, I would like you to shout yourselves out before I raid a certain person I streamed with before by the name of Chelsea Manning.
Okay.
I'll let Ray shout us. Ladies first. Oh, okay. So, okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, my name was I'm Anthony Avice to Buisson. You can find me on Twitter, Viper. You can find me on the Jerusalem Post and Mario Magazine and The Region. I also have a website called philosophyismagic.com. If you want to just talk to me, you can talk to me on like Twitter. You can DM me if you want. I basically write a lot of pieces for the Jerusalem Post at the moment, especially opinion pieces. I'm also studying currently a double degree, Bachelor of Arts with major in Politics and International Relations, and a Bachelor of Laws. I'm in my third year, got 2 more years to go. And yeah, that's all like what I do and where you can find me and how you can get in contact with me. Thank you for having me, Dylan. And thanks, Ray.
Let me read this comment before Ray finishes.
Okay, and so
Ray.
Oh no, you can do the comment first. Go on.
Kim, I am worried. Please take care of you. We need journalists like you, brave and fearless. There are people who actually go to Syria and record live battles in war zones. There are people who've gone to Belarus, where they can be captured and tortured. And Kim Iversen trying to tie a new Cold War with China into the Beirut blast is not brave and fearless. I can certainly.